Hello everyone and welcome to another very exciting tutorial. Today we're going to be building this cool animation. You can use it as a loading, for example. So let's get started. I will go to codeit.io, the code editor that we use for our tutorials. So let's get started by putting a container, div with the class container, and then let's just style our container here. I went to the CSS tab, by the way, so I'm just going to make width 100 pixel, height 100 pixel. For now, I'm just going to give it a border of maybe 1 pixel solid, maybe DDD. To be able to, all right, let's make it AAA so it's a bit more clear. Let's say I want to center it, so I'm just going to say position absolute, left 50%, top 50%. And I'm just going to say transform translate minus 50% of its width and minus 50% of its height, and it pretty much puts it right in the center of the window. Now for the circles that you see around here, we're going to start with putting like 8 divs within this container. So I'm just going to put div and then multiply by 8 and press tab, and then we're going to get 8 divs here. I'm going to style those divs by saying maybe width 20 pixel, height 20 pixel, and maybe border radius. Of course, they're circles, so it needs to be 50% border radius. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this body, which is dark blue. I'm just going to use a dark blue for the body background. So background and then put dark blue. And you'll see that it kind of puts it like that, which is cool. And then what we need to do is, well, put a background color of white for our circles, so FFF. And obviously I want to set the position to be absolute, and obviously nothing is like really visible here. The reason for that is, let's see why. The position is absolute, background is white. Let's see if I put everything correctly. So we have container here and we have 8 divs. So container, yes, missing n over here. You can see that our circles are now piled on top of each other because of the position absolute. Now the next stage is to actually position them on the right, you know, positions, knowing that the width and height of the container is 100 pixel, right? So let's get started with the first one. So container nth child 1, and obviously I know that its width and height is 20 pixel and it starts with 0. I'm just going to say maybe transform, not maybe not transform, I'm just going to use left minus 10 pixel and top minus 10 pixel as well, right? So basically what, and just again, remove the n, you'll see that it actually puts it on the right position because the width and height are 20. We just went half of its width and height and it ends up here on top of this. And we're just going to go ahead and do that for the rest, right? So for example, on the second child, I know that it's the width is obviously 100 pixels. So by default, if I go 50 pixel in, I'm just going to end up there, but also I have to subtract the half of the width of the circle itself, which ends up for this to be 40 pixel, right? And I'm going to go ahead for the third one as well. So the third one is obviously on 90, and then going for the fourth one. The fourth one is a bit different because now instead of the left is on the right position, the top should be actually now 40 pixel, right? And the same for the fifth one. So basically the left should be the same, but the top should be 90, which is awesome. And then I'm gonna go for the sixth one. The sixth one obviously needs to be 40 on the left, because obviously our origin is 0, 0 up here, so 40 on the left and obviously 90 on the top. And then the seventh one, will be, left will be the same. It's going to be minus 10, and the top the same. And then ultimately we have our eighth sort of circle here, which ends up being on minus 10 and 40, right? Now we know that our order from the first to the last one is basically on the direction around this square, right? That's all set up. Now let's go ahead and create our animation. So basically, just going to create an animation by saying keyframes, maybe let's call it fade, and then I want this to, uh, well, basically on 0%, I want it to be big, but also on the 50%, I want it to be, let's say, transform while scale maybe I don't know, like 2, and then on 100%, I want it to be, well, I guess transform scale 1, right? And let's just assign it and see what happens. So I'm just going to say animation, the name of my animation, and 1.6 seconds. Let's see what happens. Okay, this is the animation we're going to have. Let's put it infinite, and let's set it to be linear, right? So we have a linear infinite kind of scaling up and down. One thing I can do, I can set the opacity to be 1 here, and then when it goes back, I want to set the opacity to be 0. Let's see what now happens. Okay, it's not bad. Now the only thing that is remaining is to delay basically based on the order that we want, right? So assuming that we have 1.6 seconds here, what we need to do actually is basically, uh, go ahead and knowing that we have 8 elements, we have to make sure that our delay is with ultimately the sum of our delays ends up being 1.6 to have this kind of animation. And the way to do that is obviously going on each of these children and say animation delay. Let's start with 0.2 seconds and then go ahead, maybe, yes, 0.4 and then 0.6 for the next one, 0.8. You kind of see that it's actually, kind of getting into the shape of the animation we had. So this is going to be 1 second, and then it's going to be 1.2, and then we're gonna have 1.4, and obviously at the end we're gonna have 1.6, right? So you can see that I kind of have that animation. I'm actually going to change the animation from scale 2. I'm just going to just half it. So now it looks a bit better, right? Now in order to have our animation, I'm just going to remove the border here. So on our container, I'm just going to remove the border so we don't see it anymore. And then I'm just going to set the well, we already have a transform, so I'm just going to rotate it basically 45 degrees, right? So you can see that now we have that kind of cool animation that we expected. A lot of things you can do. You can actually scale it up if you want. Let's just put 2. And now this guy is more scaled up, and maybe you need a smaller sort of loading. You can actually make it 0.5, which gives you this kind of cool animation. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do. And if you had any questions, please feel free to ask it in the comment section. I'm just going to put the sort of the prototype that we have here in the description as well, so you can go ahead and look at the code here. And yeah, so have a great day and night. Goodbye.